Really excited for our senior class. I want to thank them first and foremost before I go any further. They are officially the winningest senior class in the long, storied history of the University of Houston football. And it's a lot of championship teams. It's a lot of winning teams. That's a lot of tradition here, and to have the most wins in a 4-year span with multiple games remaining, I think is quite an accomplishment. Very excited about the way that we started the game against Tulane. Obviously went 3 and out on offense, but then we punt the ball, we force a fumble and jump on it in the end zone, and 7-0 just like that. And then our defense is playing great, and our offense is finding its rhythm. We scored 21 offensive points to go into halftime, 28-10. Obviously, the play right before half was very frustrating to, spike the football and not have a whistle blown. And as all of our players are taught, if there's a ball on the ground and the whistle hasn't blown, you need to jump on it. And Greg jumped on it and injured his shoulder, and which then forced us to play Kyle Postma. Kyle went in there for first couple series of the second half, didn't play great, but we were playing great defense and flipping the field on them with our punt team was outstanding, and we were flipping the field. And then Kyle goes down, as I said yesterday, with a broken arm, broke his radius, is in surgery as we speak right now to put plate and some screws in. We're hoping to have him at least serviceable by the bowl game with some sort of cast or protective mechanism on the arm. But as it stands right now, then Greg would be our starter. He's pretty banged up, but as he has been most of the year, I still, his ankle, he still gets treatment 3 times a day on his ankle. That really slowed him down in the SMU game and a few games there in that stretch in October. But he's a warrior. He's gonna play. He's gonna give his brothers everything that he's got, and De'Eric would be his backup right now. And so getting back to the game, really proud of our defense, save for their last touchdown drive. I thought we let our foot off the gas a little bit there on defense, and we made the thing a lot closer than it needed to be. Offensively, you're putting in, you knock a quarterback out, or the whistle not being blown knocks your starting quarterback out, and then you knock the backup out, and then you see the injured starter jog back in, and obviously you realize, okay, they've got an 18-point lead, they've got a hurt quarterback. What are they going to do? They're going to try to run the football. That's not an excuse. We've got to find some better answers to run the football when we have to there, but that's a really good defense. Coach Fritz has done a phenomenal job. Number 77 is a returning first-team all-conference defensive tackle. That defensive line's about as good as it gets in our conference, so that made it for tough sledding. Would we have liked to have done better offensively there in the third and fourth quarter? Certainly, but we're going to take a win considering the circumstances, and was proud of our ability to win the football game that way, which was to flip the field continuously with our punt team and play great defense. So got a very well-deserved, well-earned number 3 team in the country coming in Louisville. They're the 3rd-ranked team in the country with arguably the best player in the country, and I think their offense gets a ton of credit, which they deserve. They're 1 or 2 or 3 in most every offensive category, and they've got the likely Heisman Trophy winner playing quarterback for them. But one thing that may go a bit unnoticed is their defense is also in the top 10 in a bunch of different categories. And through a 10-game season, that's a pretty good sample size. You're dealing with a top 10 defense and a top 2 or 3 offense in the country. And so we're going to have our hands full, but our guys like this kind of stage. They like the game. It's senior night. We've got a bunch of proud seniors that are going to go out and give our home fans, everything they got. Questions?
Do I have a Dan Tortora-like streak? I don't think so. No.
No, you might be first. Yeah, you, Johnny Cougar, and Dan Tortora are usually all first.
No. Back on Greg, Coach, was he ever healed or recovered completely from that first shoulder injury?
No, he was getting constant maintenance treatment on it, that and the ankle, and was it symptom free? It was relatively. There were times when it would flare up on him, but he was still certainly feeling the effects of it from time to time.
And the reason when he came back in, it looked like he still had some zip on the ball. I mean, as far as practice last night and moving forward, do you do anything with him in practice this week to either limit, or do you feel like throwing the ball wise, he's okay to go for Thursday?
Get him a thicker mouthpiece to bite down on when he throws.
How do you feel like, or where do you feel like you guys are defensively after the last couple of weeks, and how things are trending?
Trending great. Trending back to we once we got Tyus back and Matt Adams back, it was kind of the saying around the building last week was the band's back together, and so we feel like we're running pretty much on all cylinders right now. We are doing a great job stopping the run both weeks, and obviously. Tulane, I think they were averaging 220-something yards rushing. We held them to 100. We've got to do a better job, though, when you may, again, I've said this before, and we've got it corrected to a certain extent, but still not to where I'd like it, that, you're up 18. You've basically, by the way that you're playing run defense, has told this team, you're not going to run the football. Okay, what are they going to do? Take a knee? No, they're going to throw the football. And so we've got to do a better job in obvious passing situations of playing better pass defense, in my opinion. But we've made some strides there, certainly. But that last touchdown drive was not to our standard.
And who do you plan to put at scout team quarterback to give you a good look for Lamar?
I'm thinking of something funny to say. I don't know that God has made one that I could even compare him to. No, it'll be Kyle Allen, and these guys they've played against Greg, the all spring and in all fall camp, so they know what it looks like when a guy breaks a pocket and scrambles around. And now they were never able to touch Greg too, so. Corralling him is one thing, getting him to the ground is another. But this guy's special in that he can hurt you from the pocket just as much as he can with his feet. So Kyle will still play scout team quarterback because I think we need the good reps at defending the pass as well.
Tom, you'd mentioned Saturday after the game about the running game and how it hasn't really been able to get going consistently. What are some of the things that have maybe held it back throughout the course of the season, and what are some of the things that you guys can do over the next couple of games to maybe get on track moving forward?
Well, it's been a bit of a musical chairs with the starting lineup. I think the only guy to start all 10 games has been Josh Jones at left tackle, and that's fairly uncommon in college football. So that's one of it. Two, I think the guys that are playing, the Mason Denleys and the Marcus Olivers and the Alex Fontanas, particularly, you see 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 2 steps forward, got hurt, got to miss a game or two, and then it's so there hasn't been any real positive trajectory that's consistent enough, in my opinion. But I think this week will be a good test because they realize how close they were on a lot of those against a really good defensive line, and we were. And the tailback's got to help out too. I think we've got to understand situational football a lot better. 3rd and 1, you can't be bouncing the thing outside and running sideways. 3rd and 1, stick your face in the whatever little crack you see and go get your team a first down too. So I think it's a combination of inexperience at tailback. You got a guy back there that's only played, a couple hundred snaps of college football, and prior to that, had spent 2 years not playing the game, and so that's part of it. And then just the inconsistency of the progression of the offensive line, particularly the interior, because of some shuffling in and out, I think has been part of it. But it's not for lack of want to, or not defiance. It's not really a talent thing. I mean, at times, 77's a really good defensive tackle, and we say all the time, if offensive linemen were athletic enough to play defensive line, they'd be playing defensive line, because those guys are hard to find. So, we're doing our best to accelerate the growth process, and but we understand we've got a ways to go, and us as coaches too, we got to do a better job of finding the one or two runs that we can handle versus multiple different things that these guys can do somewhat well. And I think we're narrowing our focus in the run game here this week, and hopefully it'll bear some fruit on Thursday.
Coach, how much added motivation is there, if any, within the program, getting to play the number 3 team in the country, a potential Heisman Trophy winner, or is it just business as usual? I want to say both, but I know that's not the right answer. I think there is extra anticipation and extra excitement knowing who's coming into town. There's no hiding from that, but at the same time, it is business as usual in terms of the way that we prepare is not going to change. The way that we go about our business from a minute-to-minute, day-by-day preparation standpoint, it's definitely business as usual. But I think our guys are definitely excited to go against a top 5 team such as Louisville. Credit Mac Rhodes for that scheduling, huh? Two number 3 teams in the country, non-conference. Appreciate it, Mac.
Coach, this program has since you've gotten here, this program has not shied away from challenges, and you just mentioned that non-conference scheduling. Short week, guys being prepared. How is the offensive line? You mentioned about the shoveling, and this is what I reference to. Are those guys coming back? Are they prepared for a short week?
Yeah, they're going to have to be. And normally in a short week, we would have been in just shorts and helmets today. We were in shoulder pads yesterday, but I've got them out there in shoulder pads again today, just because when you practice in shorts, you're not getting better offensive line-wise, because there's no surface area to grab. There's nothing. There's no real space to separate on pass rushes. I mean, it's not football, and we need as much work in pads as we can in the offensive line. Now we'll manage the reps of the skill guys. We're not going to beat them down, but there was some definite conversation as a staff on what do we even wear in practice, because we got to be fresh too. I mean, we played 70, 80 snaps on Saturday, and it's just Monday, but it's really a Wednesday practice. So we're going to be in shorts and shoulder pads, so at least the offensive line can get some work on hand placement and some pass sets and stuff like that. So I think that's really the only thing you can do on a short week, and just accelerate the film watching and all of the walkthroughs and all of those things. And our guys are eager to get better. They're not down in the dumps at all. I mean, they're excited to get better and excited to have the challenge of Louisville to face.
Tom, how critical will it be for your defense to have gap integrity, particularly Thursday night against this Vickish type of a athlete in Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, you've got to be really sound, especially when you rush the passer, and you got to have. And we're a big, especially on passing downs on 3rd and long. We want to bring pressure and exotic ways of doing it, and sometimes guys get out of a gap, and against a non-athletic guy, it doesn't really hurt you. Sometimes it can even help you if there's 2 guys coming through one gap. There's only one offensive lineman that can block that gap, and
But against this guy, man, you got to maintain your rush lanes. Very similar to the plan that SMU had for us, kind of collapse the pocket, and if he's going to escape, make him escape outside the top of the pocket, where at least now you can kind of run to it. In the run game, you just got to defend the zone read and some of the read option type stuff that everybody's running nowadays, so it's really not much different than what most spread teams are doing.
At this time of the year, I mean, everybody's done pretty well got a book on pretty well everybody else from a scouting standpoint. Does Todd still have a few tricks up his sleeve for Thursday night?
Yeah, we talked about that today. Yeah, that each week as a defense, you want to show, and again, it shows up in third down probably more than anywhere, but you want to show them some different pressures, or else, good offensive line coaches and good offensive coordinators are spending the entire week saying, okay, here's their favorite 3 blitzes on third down. How are we going to block them in our protections? And you walk through them and you go over them over and over and over again. And so if you can show them something every Saturday, especially on third down, or Thursday on third down, that they have not walked through 1,000 times that we can practice and repped 1,000 times that we can practice, and you've got a much higher likelihood of hitting home.
Tom, they get a lot of production out of the linebackers, and I believe everybody's familiar with Fields from when he was at TCU. Beyond the sheer numbers that they produce, what do you see from that group, Hearns and Fields and Alexander?
Yeah, well, Fields he's a freak athlete. I mean, they list themselves as a 3-4, but they're in 4-3 spacing a lot of the time. He's got his hand on the ground. So he's got the size to be able to play defensive end, but the athleticism to play outside linebacker in a 3-4 and drop into space and cover people. He's a tremendous athlete, and the 2 inside guys, and and then on the other side you got Hearns at outside linebacker as well. That's their leading sack guy too, and so they do a really good job of mixing in 3-4 fronts and 4-3 fronts. Sometimes they'll have their hand in the ground. Sometimes their hand will be up, and they'll be either rushing the passer from a 2-point stance, or dropping into coverage, or twisting around to try to stop the run. So, Todd Grantham does an excellent job at mixing the looks, and I think what you have to do as an offense then is to try to simplify so that you can practice very few plays versus multiple looks. Whereas if you tried to run 50 different plays, then you're not going to rep it against certain looks. And if that look were to show up and you hadn't repped it in practice, it would certainly come up to bite you on Thursday night.
Tom, with some of the concerns that may have arisen earlier, a few weeks back, when you guys were hitting some adversity, aside from health, has your team adequately addressed some of the issues that maybe came to the forefront against SMU or Navy? Yeah,
the only issue was we were pressing when faced with adversity. There was and the issues were they were good problems to have. As I've said before, we don't have defiant guys. We don't have a divided locker room. We don't have guys that are unwilling to work. We had a bunch of guys that thought the best way to handle adversity was to go outside of themselves and to try to do things, press, the old pressing. And I think we've conquered that, and we've learned to trust our training, and we've learned that when faced with adversity, the only thing that you need to do is exactly what you're coached, as hard as you can do it. And usually when you do that, good things happen.
That halftime at UCF, was that the turning point, and if so, why?
The response of UCF, I don't know if it was the halftime or not, but the way that we responded in the second half certainly was a turning point for our season, because it gave us it validated what we as coaches were telling them, and then it gave us confidence going into the bye week that now really in the bye week all we had to do was get rested and healthy. We didn't have to play psychologist for 2 weeks and convince our team that this is the right way to handle adversity. They went out, they did it the way that we teach them to do it, and we were able to have a great comeback win. And so I think then you spend the 2 weeks of the bye week kind of reinforcing that with confidence, as well as getting healthy and fresh. And yeah, that was a definite turning point for sure.
Tom, what kind of growth and development have you seen from Lamar Jackson from last year to this year? And is there anything, I know completely different circumstances, but anything that you guys can take other than maybe some confidence from last year's game into this one?
No. He is a night and day different player. I recruited Lamar out of high school. He had star potential written all over him, tremendous athlete, and a really underrated thrower of the football. And, last year we caught him week 2 in his second start and had a bit of deer in the headlights, maybe a little bit, and turned the ball over and got benched towards the end of the game and all that. And so, but I also think that the offensive staff and Coach Petrino have done an excellent job of transforming that offense and maybe stepping out of their comfort zone a little bit and doing some things that are tailor-made for him and his style of play, rather than trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. We've got this square peg, let's make our damn hole square too. And I think that's the mark of any good offensive coach, is to say, what is our personnel good at? Now let's tailor the offense around what they're good at, and they've certainly done that.